You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Hi, folks. It's Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com. With your brain. Stop doing that. Yeah. Welcome to the show, my family and friends. We certainly appreciate you guys. For 16 years, 2,400 episodes, we've been bringing the Chris Voss Show because we had nothing better to do. And we're like, hey, these people, they want to listen to some really uplifting stories, lessons of life, blueprints of life, how people overcame their childhood traumas, their cathartic moments in life. And we bring them to you in a podcast because we're just like, it seems like people want this. We tried doing a podcast where it was just like, the world's going to hell, just give up and go into the fetal position and cry a lot. But it had one episode because we gave up, went in the fetal position, cried a lot. We followed our own tack there, but we just didn't really feel like making more episodes. But on this show, it's positive. So for the show to your family, friends, and relatives, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss one on the TikTokity, and Facebook.com/Chris Voss. Opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the Chris Voss Show. Some guests of the show may be advertising on the podcast, but it is not an endorsement or review of any kind. We have an amazing young lady on the show. We're going to be talking about her new book that comes out August 5th, 2025. You can pre-order it now. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I thought you were going to say August 25th. Yes, August 5th, 2025. You're right.
I almost did, didn't I? August 5th, 2025. There's too many fives in there, and I'm just in shock that we're close to August. So here we are, halfway through the year almost. Her book is entitled Courage Finds His Calm. It's a picture book out August 5th, 2025 by Lisa Watson. We're going to be talking to her on the show about her insights, her experience, and some of the wonderful things that she's done and books she's working on that you're definitely going to want to check out. Welcome to the show, Lisa. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks for coming to the show. We really appreciate it. Give us your .coms. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
I have two places. I have reparent-yourself.com, which is my coaching website, and I have awakentheone.org, which is my mission project of conscious children's books.
Give us a 30,000 overview. What's inside this new book, Courage Finds His Calm?
What's inside this book is it's a mindfulness book for children, teaching mindfulness techniques, breathing techniques. It's about an adorable little bunny named Courage and his mentor, a yak named Callahan. And he helps him through very practical methods and a beautiful little rhyming story. It's designed for 3 to 7-year-olds. But don't let that scare you away from this podcast, because what we're really going to talk about is a lot of inner adult healing that has to happen. And these children's books that I write are really just the other side of that. And it's more about spiritual development and learning who you truly are as a young child, so that you don't have to unlearn it as an adult, that you weren't so awesome, because we are all really awesome. So,
I mean, I've seen some people on X that maybe aren't quite so awesome, but I'll take your word for it.
I'm going to tell you why they are.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, let's just dive in right there. I love it, because what I really teach is that I'm going to go deep here with you, Chris. Okay.
All right, let's do
what
it.
I teach is that we are all spiritual beings. We are all literally God in form. And I like to refer to our body as being an avatar, and the brain is our operating system. And if you understand that during the first 7 years of life is when this operating system is downloaded. So I want to ask you, when a baby is born to anyone across the world, would you agree that that child that is born is innocent?
Innocent of what? I mean,
innocent, just an innocent being.
Yeah.
Just
An empty
perfect
page sort of thing.
Yeah, just a perfect innocent being.
Yeah.
when the
I
day it's
suppose
born, right?
I suppose so.
Okay.
I've known some. I saw some baby movies. There was that one Chucky movie. So I'm not sure. I'm just doing jokes, folks. I'm just.
I love it. That's okay.
Yeah,
We're all good.
yeah.
Okay, but babies are innocent, all right? I don't know if
That
Chucky's a
one
real
wasn't the
thing
Chucky
or
one,
whatever.
but
Maybe if they're
the rest
possessed,
are.
but at the end of the day, they're innocent, and it's just whatever's possessing them that is not innocent. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what changes that innocence is the programming, the belief systems that are downloaded into us for those first 7 years. Most people don't realize this, but children under the age of 8 are walking around in a hypnotic state. Their brain is in the theta brainwave state, and they're literally absorbing absolutely everything around them just as truth. They're not filtering out any information. Children are not mini adults. They don't have the brain capacity that adults have. They don't have a frontal lobe that is developed. Okay, so they're just walking around, 50 cards short of a full deck, pretty much.
Some people say that way, I think, on X.
Yes,
No, I'm doing more X jokes. It's a callback.
No,
joke.
for sure, for real. They're kind of like pets where, they just don't have the capacity and the understanding and the logic and things like that. But what's happening is their subconscious mind is being formed during these years. So whatever behaviors are being modeled for these children, whatever words are being spoken to them, become their truth. So if a child is told, you're lazy, you're, unmotivated, you're unreliable, you're stupid, whatever it may be, that becomes a belief system about themselves. They're not filtering out this information and saying that's not true, or I don't really buy it. Maybe I'll adopt that. Maybe I won't. It simply becomes their truth. They're not capable of filtering out anything. These are the years in which this operating system of the avatar is created. So that's why there's that saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So if you grow up in an affluent family that is emotionally regulated and loving and compassionate, and you get a lot of connection, you're going to develop some really great high emotional IQ qualities. You're going to probably have great self-esteem. You're going to have a good relationship with money. So your beliefs around all those things are going to be downloaded into this computer system. You're then going to create a reality based on those beliefs. And that's typically what happens. If you're born into, a poor family, maybe where there's addiction, abuse, narcissism, things like that, you're going to develop different types of beliefs about yourself, maybe unworthiness, or the world is not fair, or money doesn't grow on trees. I have to work really hard, things like that. You're going to create a life that reflects those beliefs. This is how it works. Quantum physics has proven that we live in a holographic reality. It's a holographic virtual reality that we are literally building moment by moment through the structure of the beliefs that we hold and the energetic vibration that we are. So when I say that everyone is innocent, you are innocent. You're only a product of the programs that were downloaded into the system. But the beauty of it is you are the controller of this avatar. And once your brain is fully developed and you can start to recognize what belief systems you're holding, what untruths were told to you, what corrupt files you're running, basically, is what I like to say. It's just a corrupt file. The files that you're running are what are producing the reality outside of you that you see. It's kind of like when you send a file to a printer. The printer prints out a PDF. The PDF is like the 3D reality that you're looking at. So we're looking at our reality, and it's only a product of the files that we're running. But typically we look at that PDF and we use it to define who we are or how worthy we are, when it's only really a belief about that. It's not a reality. So the children's books, the reason I write children's books, and I'm a coach that practices, I've developed this method called Reparent Yourself. I help people to reprogram those belief systems. And all you need to do is simply reparent yourself. You just go back and you start telling yourself the truth, and you undo all the lies. You are not unworthy. You are not undeserving. You are not stupid. You are not lazy. You may have those behaviors based on your beliefs about yourself, but at your core, you are capable of rewriting every single program that is housed in this operating system. So the children's books help parents to have tools. They help to model behaviors from the characters for the children to adopt, so that they can start to adopt beliefs about themselves and the world that are more empowering, that allow them to truly create the reality that they want. My first series is called the Mindfulness Within series. Each of my book series, I have 13 series planned. Each series has 3 books, so I have 39 books planned. The first one is the second book in the first series called Mindfulness Within. And the reason I have 3 books is they're designed for 3 different age ranges to cover the developmental gaps that are between the ages of 0 and 8 during that, where the subconscious mind is being formed. So the first one is for 0 to 3-year-olds, and it's about mindfulness. So it's just introducing the child to its breath, that you have breath, that your breath can anchor you, that you can find emotional regulation by focusing on your breath. But it's just very basic for 0 to 3-year-olds, like breathe in, breathe out, like a candle, blowing a candle or smelling a flower. Mm-hmm. The second book that's coming out, Courage Finds His Calm, is it's a rhyming book, and it's a story about Courage, who has a castle. His castle falls down. He gets upset. And then Callahan teaches him that it's not about what happened on the outside. Yes, the castle fell down. That's disappointing. We acknowledge that. But you can connect with your breath, and you can calm your own system. You have the power to do that. You don't need anyone outside of you to do anything. You don't need a cookie. You don't need the castle to be back to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
You just
can I still have a cookie though?
You can still have a cookie.
Okay.
And you may need a hug. You may need
too.
connection. You may need, to sit on mom or dad's lap or something, or just have your feelings validated. Yeah. And so what I teach in the reparenting method is basically, this is how we go back and we do this for ourselves. And when you do it for yourself and you find a lot of compassion for your own inner child and you start healing your own inner child, this is the secret sauce to being a great parent. Because you don't really need to learn any parenting techniques. You just need to learn to truly give yourself what you never had as a child. Stop waiting for anyone else to give it to you, and you give it to yourself. And then you're compassionate to your own child, and you can see that the relationship between your own anxiety and depression and codependency or people-pleasing, behaviors, and how what you're doing with your child could be creating that once you start to understand it about yourself.
It sounds kind of like what you're trying to do is maybe teach kids or emotional intelligence, a higher level of emotional intelligence. Is that a good analogy?
It's 100% about emotional intelligence. And adults as well, teaching adults how to become emotionally intelligent on their own. The thing is that no one's coming to save us. Okay.
What?
Yeah, no one's coming to save us. We already have all the power that we need to have, and we're not going to find it in a relationship. Jesus isn't going to come give it to us. Jesus already showed us that it is already given, that we already hold it. He modeled that for us by showing us that he is who we are him, and that we have the capacity to tap into those same powers, basically, that he has by remembering who we are, by remembering that this is a holographic reality and it's all based on energy and frequency and belief systems, and that you're actually the creator of it.
Mm-hmm. And I love the analogy used of the computer. Evidently, I need to reformat my whole damn hard drive, which is why my therapist recommends lobotomy. Lobotomy. You can be happy again. Did I just do an ad? Hey, can we reach out to some lobotomist people and see if we can get them to sponsor the show? I don't know. Just teasing. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No worries. They actually used to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and
pretty wild,
my
huh?
mother had shock therapy and
Really?
I mean, and that's, I know you're going to want to ask me this. So I'm just going to ask myself for you.
Sure.
How did I get into this work and why am I so passionate about it is because of my own childhood. It's because of, I, was raised in a family where I felt very unworthy and very undeserving. I am the youngest of 8 children.
Mm-hmm.
My other 7 siblings have a different father than I do. So, the next sister older than me is only like 18 months older or 21 months older than me. So, and my mother was an alcoholic and she just got pregnant from my dad. I think they were married for a year. So I grew up in a single mother, alcoholic, 8 kids, and they all had a different father. So like basically a different life. Like they got to go to Disneyland with their grandmother and I didn't get to go.
8 different kids
No.
fathers? Or I just want to
7 from one father.
Okay.
And then me.
And then,
so I was the oddball out. I was the youngest. And so I grew up with these feeling unworthy, feeling undeserving, feel like I don't belong. I don't get to have the same things that other people have. Plus I had a narcissistic alcoholic mother who had gone through a terrible amount of trauma and childhood abuse. And so she didn't have the mental capacity over the age of 13, really. And I say that with all love and respect for my mother. And I'm grateful that she brought me here to this planet, but she wasn't a great mother. And I had a lot of abandonment issues. And, you can imagine being 8 in that situation where I've pretty much raised myself after 8 years old.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening is I ended up marrying a narcissist at the age of 18. I met him. He's 11 years older than me. We were married for 28 years, 2 beautiful children. And although a lot of my life was really great, I will attribute that to the fact that I've always been really into personal development and spirituality. And I've been studying this stuff since I was like 16 years old. I've been reading things like Wayne Dyer and Marianne Williamson. And I got into the Course in Miracles when I was 16 or 17 years old. And so I was already building a really strong foundation, but I didn't know I was worthy. I didn't feel worthy or deserving. And so I chose a partner that was an energetic match to that. He reflected back to me only what I believed about myself. I couldn't create a reality based on a belief that I didn't hold about myself. I couldn't create a partnership where I felt like I was deserving, that I felt like I had control or, there were so many things, but you can't do that if you don't hold those beliefs about yourself. And so in 2015, I finally got a divorce after my kids had pretty much graduated college. It felt safe at the time, then everyone was good. And I just decided that I was going to start living my life. It was really a path that I needed to take to be in this controlling relationship where I was codependent. I was a people pleaser, and I didn't even see it. I didn't even know it until I really got out of the marriage and realized how I had been like a dog chained in a backyard with, not a lot of autonomy. And so I just decided, I didn't create the life that I'm not creating the life that I want, or I didn't get to in that marriage, and nothing's going to stop me now. So I just started doing research on, how to live a better life. I got into Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton. I got trained in neuro-linguistic programming. I got into energy work, spirituality. I actually did a spiritual podcast for a couple years and had guests on every week and learned tons of different things, but I just started saying yes to everything and wanted to learn about absolutely everything. And the thing that really struck me like a bolt of lightning was I don't even remember what station it was, but I was listening to some YouTube channel and they were talking about how It was about money mindset and how in order to create more abundance and money in your life, that you need to know what belief systems you're holding about money that are holding you back. And when I heard that, I was like, that was something I definitely wanted to do for myself. And I was like, they said it was a subconscious belief. And I'm like, a subconscious belief? So I'm not even aware of what that belief is. And then they were saying how, you only use 5% of your brain. And that's the conscious part of your brain. 95% of what we do is subconscious programming. So if you want to change your life, you got to know what you're running on a subconscious level. Yeah. And so that just became my mission. And that mission really brought me to where I am today. I ended up becoming a life coach, getting trained. I have many certifications. I went back to school to get my PhD in integrative health medicine, which I'm still working on my PhD. And I just wanted to learn everything I could. A big piece of that was childhood development and conscious parenting, because I then, I learned the connection between those first 7 years and the subconscious mind being formed and the impact it has on the adult years. So I'm like, we got to hit it. We got to hit it from this side and that side. So the practice that I run now is that reparenting. I help adults to reparent themselves, to change their beliefs. And then I bring awareness and help parents and people, not just parents, because we're all around children. And I think every single one of us need to understand how a child's mind is developed and how impactful our words are on a child. Even if it's just our nieces or nephews or our neighbors, that things to understand, like children don't understand jokes.
Yeah. And that explains why they keep throwing stuff on my floor, food on my floor. But wait, I think they think it's funny. I don't know. I tried to build a joke there and it just didn't come out. So I love what you're doing and what you're talking about. And it sounds like your books are kind of designed to not only help children and adults, adults realize, that subconscious program that they've built in there. I mean, we all kind of have had, there's like lots of examples of that I think we've talked about on the show over the years, but also to help children to see if they can maybe get a mind's eye to look at what comes at them, maybe question their choices. I was lucky enough to grow up in a cult with the what's the word I'm looking for, with the vice grip of trying to cram ideas down my throat that didn't make logical sense. And
like religion.
Yeah, like religion, yeah. To being castigated to you must just have faith and blindly follow whatever we say. And it's like, no, I need to understand why 2 + 2 = 5 with you guys, but the rest of the world is operating on 2 + 2 = 4. Does it equal 5 or 4? I'm just kidding, folks. It's Friday, so half the brain's working. That's why we need a reboot of the brain. But no, I love what you're doing there. And the kids can read the books. They can hopefully maybe develop some critical thinking of, because I think kids kind of do that too, don't they? Don't they first question a lot of these paradigms that get thrown? Like, why does mom always say we're broke, even though she has money at the counter for groceries? When I tell her I want to buy the box of Fruit Loops that will have me Fruit Loop bouncing off the walls in 5 minutes, and she's going to go insane with it because I'm bouncing off the walls because I'm insane.
You're absolutely, that's a really great point, Chris, because we have to understand how children see it from their point of view. So from their point of view, I'm just not worthy, maybe. I'm just not deserving. If we don't use our words and explain things to our children, we typically just say no, or you can't, or because I said so. We need to learn to really talk more to our children and explain things to them a little bit on a deeper level. Like I had a client the other day, a father who had hired me to help him with parenting. And he has a 9-year-old boy, a 6-year-old boy, and a 2-year-old. And he was telling me how the 6-year-old boy, he's very athletic, and he took his own training wheels off and he just started riding his bike on his own because he'd been watching his older brother do it, and he decided that that's what he wanted to do. And his dad was telling me sort of proudly, yeah. And I was saying to him, you robbed me of my experience of teaching you how to ride a bike. I didn't even get to teach you. You just did it all by yourself. Uh-huh. And he was lovingly joking with his child. And I brought to his attention that your child actually doesn't know that you're joking. They don't understand that. What they hear is, I disappointed dad by shining my light. I disappointed dad by being my best self. And what that can turn out to, if those types of things happen kind of frequently, or it could just be a one-time sort of thing where they decide that it's not safe to be their best, brightest, biggest light, because it may take away from dad and it may upset them. And children are very compassionate and loving, and they don't want to displease their parents. So I'm like, you want to be very careful with saying, I don't recommend joking with kids like that. You want to just be, great job. Look at that. I didn't even have to show you. That's fantastic. Because we want them to go out and do things without, it's not about us. It's not about our ego. It's not about us needing to show them or getting credit for anything. It's about, we're just caretakers to these little beings to help them grow up to be their best selves, to be brave and courageous and authentic without feeling like there's any fear or shame in doing that.
Yeah. And that's a great start. I mean, I wish someone had told, why weren't you writing these books when I was a kid? Hey, it'd be a great start to try and deprogram stuff. I mean, at least one of the great things that came from that compression vice of growing up in a cult and just being rammed from every which way. I think my only salvation was when I finally found that there were voices in the world that were sane, and after being called the insane one for most of my childhood, I was able to find those voices like George Carlin. I'm trying to think of other people that helped me, but George Carlin was a big one. I found that there were other people that had voices that believed in the same things I did, or came to the same logical reasoning conclusions that I did, and that weren't trying to, just shove things at people and overwhelm them. So it helped me with become a better businessman, because I would question things. I would learn to look outside of the box. I would learn to have critical thinking. I mean, that's basically what I did. I'm like, I don't give a shit how mad you whipsaw me and batter me. I'm going to believe what I want. I established that very early on. And so I think this is great for kids, because having that critical thinking when you're young and developing it, and, looking at your world through, instead of just believing everything your parents told you, like parents tell a lot of white lies that are designed to help you. There's a Santa Claus, there's an Easter Bunny. I hope I'm not ruining anything for anybody, but you can cry after. You should listen to this show. Somebody's going to write me, be like, I thought Santa Claus is real. You can always dream. But, or one of my favorite lies that my parents told me, and I think a lot of parents maybe get caught in this one, is they taught me to lie, never tell a lie, and be honest at all times. And then you catch them in some of their white lies, and you're like, wait, you're full of shit, And
then you don't trust the world. But think about it, Chris, you wouldn't be the influence that you are on so many today and in this positive role that you have, had you not had the experiences that you had, because it's made you passionate about it. And I'm in the same boat. Like, I am so grateful to my experience with my ex-husband and the 28 years that I spent not having the ability to really make my own choices and it was more like one of those 50s marriages where, like very patriarch type of thing. And like, you kind of do as I say. And even though I worked and did a whole bunch of things, there was just this overreaching thing of, you're the woman. So, I get to have the final say. And if I don't want you to go out with that friend, or I don't want you to go out for drinks after work, like, you don't get to do anything I don't approve. If I didn't have that experience, I wouldn't be so passionate about authenticity like I am today. And I wouldn't be able to understand what a lot of women actually go through and help give them the tools that they need in order to, break free of these cycles. I mean, I am like, nobody can make me do anything I don't want to do now. I check in with myself. And if it doesn't resonate with me and my inner child, I don't care how you take it. I don't care if it disappoints people. Like, I'm not living my life for anyone else anymore. I didn't waste it. I won't say that because that's not true. But I went through training for nearly 30 years, and that's enough. That was enough for me. And I have this example, which I think it really paints the picture. I'm remarried. I got remarried about 8 years ago. And I was still unwinding these belief systems and these programs. That's why I've done a lot of the work in the past 10 years. I've done it on myself to be able to, write these books and be a coach for other people. I walk my talk 100%. And so I'm working through unwinding these behaviors. And my new husband could only be a reflection of where I was at the time. It was not some, perfect magical relationship. There was work to be done, but the foundation was very good. And my husband still had some, I'll call them like narcissistic behaviors that a lot of people have, but he wasn't a narcissist. It was more like learned patriarch type of behaviors. And so sometimes he would say things that were very triggering, like maybe a tone of voice, or he wouldn't validate my feelings or something like that. And something like that happened one day. And I was hell-bent on doing my own work and self-reflecting and figuring out like where this came from and what I wasn't giving to myself, why I would be with someone who, I would allow that, how it gave me the opportunity to learn how to set boundaries. I had to learn how to use my voice. So I had to show up differently in this relationship than I did in my last one. I had to advocate for my own self in this relationship. And my current husband, who I'm still with 8 years later, was very responsive to that. Like we were able to grow together, because there wasn't blame. It was just recognition, observing, recognizing, learning, changing, growing. And so one day I got triggered by something, and I went to go outside and sit by this little river that we had by our house to emotionally regulate. And as I was out there, I was doing some reparenting of myself, talking to my inner child, letting her know that, I had spoken my voice and just been like, I don't appreciate that tone, but it totally triggered me. And so I needed to go regulate. And I'm telling my inner child, like, no one gets to talk to us like that anymore. And if it means that we get a divorce, it's okay with me. Like, I will not tolerate it anymore. And I will use my voice and I will ask for it. And if it's not well received, and the door is right there. Like I'm not going there anymore. And so she's pretty happy about hearing that. And so I was calming down and I asked her, what it is that she wanted. And we were supposed to go, it was my husband's mother's birthday, and there was a party. I lived in Denver at the time, and we were supposed to go to downtown Denver to Union Station to have this nice birthday dinner. And she said she didn't want to go to dinner. She just wanted to stay home. And I want to add that there was no judgment on my part to my husband, because he was only a product of his own programming. Yeah. He was only running his own beliefs. And it was my job to just set a boundary, not make him out to be the bad guy. And then it was up to him whether he could respond to that or not. Everything was happening just like in the now moment. We're not doing anything. I wasn't reacting. I was responding. So he comes out to the water and he says, he apologized. We had a little conversation about it. He was able to self-reflect and see how, what he did was not kind. And my minimum standard is kindness. Say whatever you want to me, but say it in a kind tone. Say it with respect. And so he understood that. He said he was sorry. And he was like, well, it's time to go. I got to go to Mom's birthday. I said, oh, yeah, I'm not going. And he giggled. He said, you have to go. It's Mom's birthday. And I said, I actually don't. I don't have to go. And I'm not going to. Because I've spent my entire life, at the time I was like 48 years old, doing things for other people, abandoning my own self. And I'm not doing it anymore. My inner child needs to trust me. She needs to know that I'm going to build the life for her that she deserves. She needs to know that if somebody doesn't treat me right and it makes me feel bad and I need time to regulate, maybe I want to go take a bath right now, she gets to go take a fucking bath. Excuse me. Maybe I shouldn't have said that on the show.
You're fine. We're fine.
And so he would just kind of swallowed hard, because I had set the boundary in the relationship. I had set the standard, and I gave him the option with no shame. If this doesn't work for you, if these boundaries don't work for you, you don't have to do this relationship with me. But I'm not in fear anymore. I'm not trying to hold on to a relationship out of fear of, I don't know, being alone or whatever it may be. I'm just advocating for myself moment to moment, and I'm trusting that if I am true to my authentic self and I love myself, that everything's going to work out just fine. And it has. And here I am 10 years later. I live in paradise. I live in Mexico. I am married to the same man. I have a thriving coaching business and children's books, and I'm healthier than I've ever been in my life. I've decided I'm reverse aging, which I am. I'm 56 and I feel like I'm 35. And it's because of my mindset. It's because of the beliefs that I've chosen. And it's because of the experiences that I've had that have made me who I am, and just, so hell-bent on never going back.
When you're sharing with others, let's give a plug out before we go on your coaching, on what you do, how you do it there, how people can reach out to you. What sort of clients do you work with? I think you might have mentioned you work with a lot of women. How do clients qualify to work with you, et cetera, et cetera?
I work with all types of clients. My sweet spot is really women who are in toxic relationships or healing from them, because I have that experience myself. But I have to tell you, I work with a lot of men too. For whatever reason, men seem to feel really safe with me. And I'm teaching reprogramming. So I really can work with anyone on whether it's addictions or, parenting or anxiety, depression. But you can find me at reparent-yourself.com. I did write a book also, Reparent Yourself, to find healing in all your relationships. It's not available for pre-order yet. We're still working on that with the publisher. I'm big on TikTok and Instagram. I have lots of videos that I post daily there. And you can work with me one-on-one. I am currently working on building some online courses that you can take, but my sweet spot is really the one-on-one. I build my programs like specifically to each client to help you become healthy in all your relationships, whether it's with yourself, with money, with time, with your children. It doesn't matter. We're going to do a complete reboot of your belief system, and it's going to impact your entire life.
People reach out to you, and give us those .coms as we go out one more time.
Reparent-yourself.com and awakentheone.org.
Thank you for coming out on the podcast. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. It's been fun. Thank you, Chris.
There you go. Thank you, Lisa. Very insightful. And if it's better to learn these stuff as a child as opposed to sitting in your therapist's office trying to fix it 50 years later.
Chris, I can't even believe it, but I need to say one more thing. I'm launching a Kickstarter campaign to raise money for the other 2 books in my children's book series. I forgot because it was supposed to launch today and we had a little bit of a hiccup. So it's going to be out. I know when this podcast comes out, it'll probably be out. So we'll have the link available for you to go to the Kickstarter campaign, and you can buy the children's book through the campaign, which will support us in getting the other 2 books in the series out. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa, for coming on the show. Thanks, your audience, for tuning in. Order up the book or pre-order it wherever fine books are sold. Courage Finds Us Calm, out August 5th. 2025, and check out her other books and get involved with some of the works that she's doing in future books, because we need smarter kids in this world. We talked in the previous shows about how we need to teach some of these lessons in school and maybe get people to fix their trauma in school, and maybe less calculus, unless people are really into that. Half of my self-esteem was destroyed in high school being taught things that I would never fucking use, when someone should have just taught me how to,
all of us,
get therapy. Yeah. I'm a big purveyor of that. We have psychiatrists in schools, I think, or at least we used to, I don't know, school nurse or somebody, or teacher. I had a psychologist teacher who was pretty good at analyzing me and also giving me Fs. Anyway, but he was nailing it. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, everyone. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1, the TikTok, and all those crazy places the kids on the internet play. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. And that should have us.